Amigo.
4 hours sleep and a couple of drinks and I'd be able to talk nonsense to you again. Right now I've barely enough strength to talk sense.
But, jeez, amigo, whatever you wish, come in.
Where did you live in Cleveland?
Did I say I lived in Cleveland?
You said you knew him there.
I was married then, yes. What is the matter, amigo?
You got to know Steelgrave how?
It was just that in those days it was fun to know a gangster. One went to the places where they were said to go, and if one was lucky, perhaps some evening...
What about your husband, or don't you remember?
The streets of the world are paved with discarded husbands.
Isn't it the truth? You find them everywhere, even in Bay City. Might even be a graduate of the Sorbonne. Might even be mooning away in a measly small-town practice. That's a coincidence I'd like to eat. Eh, amigo? You don't use much Spanish, do you? The only thing Mexican about you is a few words and a careful way of talking. I'm in bad trouble downtown. Apparently Miss Weld had the good sense to tell her boss, and he came through. I don't think they think she shot Steelgrave, but they think I know who did.
And do you know, amigo?
I told Orphamay I did.
I was there, amigo. The little girl had been staying here with me. She wanted to see Steelgrave's house. She had never seen a gambling house, she said, so I called him up and he said, come along. When we got there, he put his arm around Orphamay and told her she had earned her money well. He said he has something for her. Then he took from his pocket a cloth of some kind and gave it to her. When she unwrapped it, there was a hole in the middle of it, and the hole was stained with blood. Little Orphamay took the cloth and then stared at him, and her face was very still. But then she thanked him and opened her bag to put the cloth in it. But instead she took a gun out of her bag, turned around, and shot him dead with one shot.
You made her confess to Mavis Weld, and last night when you rushed me out there you already knew he was dead and there wasn't anything to be afraid of at all. That act with that gun was just an act.
Mavis was determined to take the blame.
I chased her out. She told me she had shot him. She had the gun, the twin of the one you gave me.
I know very little about guns.
Sure. Quest was killed with 2 shots from a .32 automatic. Same caliber. I picked up the shells in the den down there.
Down where, amigo?
Of course, I couldn't know it was the same gun. But it seemed worth trying out. Only confused things up a little. So I switched guns on him. His was a black .38. He wouldn't carry a .32 automatic. And if he killed a man, he would kill him dead. This guy got up and walked a bit.
Which guy? I'm afraid I am not following you too well.
I'd like to say he talked a bit. But he didn't. His lungs were full of blood. He died at my feet, down there.
But down where? You have not told me where it was that this...
Do I have to? You were present when little Orphamay told him where to go. Only he didn't go. That's what's been the matter all along. Steelgrave was a reformed character and doing fine. When this Stein comes bothering him, wanting to cut in, he has to go. Steelgrave doesn't want to kill anybody, but he has to get rid of Stein, so he gets himself pinched. And he gets out of jail by bribing the jail doctor. And he kills Stein and goes back to jail at once, because the cops will come over and ask questions.
Very naturally, amigo.
But look at it this way. Why would he have lunch in a public place on the very day he was out of the cooler to knock Stein off? And if he did, why would young Quest happen around to snap that picture? Stein hadn't been killed yet. I like people to be lucky, but that's too lucky. Even if Steelgrave didn't know his picture had been taken, he knew who Quest was. He was Mavis Weld's boyfriend. He must have known something of this brother of hers, which simply adds up to the result that night of all nights, Steelgrave would not have shot Stein, even if he had planned to.
Now it is time for me to ask you, who did?
Somebody who knew Stein and could get close to him. Somebody who already knew that photo had been taken, knew who Steelgrave was, knew that Mavis Weld was on the verge of becoming a big star, knew that her association with Steelgrave was dangerous. Somebody who had met Quest at Mavis Weld's apartment and had given him the works. Somebody who knew those bone-handled .32s were registered to Steelgrave, although he had only bought them to give to a couple of girls. Somebody...
Stop! You will stop at once, please! I will not tolerate this another minute. You will go now.
Why did you kill Quest?
For 2 reasons, amigo. He was more than a little crazy, and in the end he would have killed me. And the other reason is that none of this, absolutely none of it, was for money. It was for love. No matter how many lovers a person may have, there is always one that you cannot bear to lose to another. Steelgrave was the one. That man I would not share. I killed him. And you cannot do a damn thing about all this, darling, unless you destroy Mavis Weld utterly.
Last night she proved that she was willing to destroy herself.
if she was not active. That hurt, did it not? You are in love with her.
That would be kind of silly. I'd want more than that.
Querido, I have liked you very much. It is too bad.